Here are the highlights for the qualifiers for the Smash Beer 500, starting with the two E-mains. 15 cars start each race, 10 transferred to the D-mains. Laura Cyrus leads the field to the green flag at the start of E-main number 1, but look at Carter Fitzgerald in that pink and orange 62 car up on the outside of the 3. Fitzgerald leading down into the first corner. Cameron Taylor with the 26T and Trey Ashby in the 12 have been slow all weekend, and it only took 5 laps for them to go a lap down. Taylor and Ashby's teams have been very sluggish in getting up to speed, and they're paying the price as they failed to break 150 miles an hour. Cletus McGuffey brings out a Vicker collision and glass caution on about lap 10 as his number 54 Team Burr entry blows up and comes to a stop on the backstretch. Carter Fitzgerald continues to lead after the Roush Airlines flying restart. Allison Wilson in the 46B for FAC Motorsports right behind her, but not posing a serious challenge in the moment. Laura Cyrus in the black 3 has fallen back to third. Martin Sandy in the number 92 for Bjorn Green Racing had a problem and spent a long time in the pit lane. He fell out of contention to transfer to the D-mains as Carter Fitzgerald leads Allison Wilson across the line to take E-main number 1. Carter Fitzgerald has proven herself to be very good at these qualifying races. The last car to transfer into the D-main would be Ryan Barrett in the number 51 for Race Sim Motorsports, the pole sitter at the Rookie Shootout. Now moving on to E-main number 2, same story, 15 cars start, 20 laps, the top 10 make it through. Roy Warren in the 48 for Ike Durbin Incorporated leads the field. Maro Adachi in the number 966 Troll and Lowly car on the outside, 3 wide for third place with Caden Beckett and Roy Cook, as Warren tries to hold off the hard-charging Brenda Riggs. Riggs very slow in pole qualifying in that M&J car, but she's making up for that early on in this race. Chris Washer and Tom Brayton battle it out for the last transfer spot. They have fallen behind the pack. Very surprising to see Tom Brayton in that number 100 racing team car running competitively with somebody. In fact, they're faster than Ramsey Cockiner and Scott Washington. Cockiner, I'm very surprised that he's this slow, as the leaders put him and Washington a lap down on lap number 5. And with about 5 laps to go, Scott Washington getting lapped again. Contact as Tom Brayton runs into the back of him. No caution as these two cars are sliding down into turn number 1 with a pack of cars coming. Flagman was obviously not paying any attention at all, and we're very lucky that that wasn't a bigger wreck. But Tom Brayton is going to go out of this race after running in 10th, the final transfer spot. I never thought I'd say this, but tough break for the racing team in what was looking to be a promising day by their standards. Mike Malone, the FARC Regional Cup driver, would try to put up a challenge for Brenda Riggs, but Riggs holds off Malone to take E-main number 2 right before they put Maro Dachi a lap down. Coming home third in his debut for the Fernando's Chicken Team was Scott Morales, no relation to the late Scott Morales who drove for Groves Racing. Maro Adachi, who almost got lapped, the last car to transfer into the D-mains. D-main number 1, Frank Azure, leads the field to the green flag. 30 cars starting these D-mains. They will go for 30 laps, and the top 16 will make it into the C-mains as Azure rockets off to a fantastic start. Angelina Hogg, that red and silver 75 car, sliding into second. Brian George, car number, I think that's 81 for the Doppelgang, almost getting turned. It's quite the hornet's nest in the midfield with many more cars starting this race. Nick Azure gets hooked up and over after contact between Melanie Menendez, his teammate, and Ray Lawler. Big crash for Nick Azure as he slides down turn number 4. It seems that his 2013 luck might be following him into this new season. Fortunately, he was okay. That was a very big impact with the wall that he had. Carter Fitzgerald started from 21st place. The top finishers from each qualifier starting in the back of the field. And she roughs up Robert Lucklighter a bit, challenging him for second place. But here comes Ryan Matthews, the 61 Fitzgerald's teammate, 3 wide on the inside heading into turn 1. He wants that third spot. Tanner Clayson now all over the back of the 62 car. Angelina Hogg, car 75, hanging in there. James Hewitt and Jared Pierce, cars 155 and 72, going a lap down. Pierce hooked by the 161 of Matthews. Hewitt goes up and into the wall. Kerry Ians, car 29, hard into the wall as well. Let's get a look at what happened to Ians. Ians who dominated much of the rookie shootout, just an innocent victim as he gets hooked and turned into the wall. Ians and Hewitt would be able to climb out of those cars, but their chances at making the Smash Beer 500 are done. And Frank Azure is going to cruise to a dominant victory in that 87 for Tom Delgado Racing. Carter Fitzgerald comes home second with Robert Lechleiter in third. Both Motor Assault Racing cars, Kiki Hitsuno and Laura Cyrus, make it through to the C main. Cyrus, the last one to transfer. Moving on to D main number 2, Betty Cox in the 030, leading the field to the green flag. Aoi Mizushima for Masena Motorsports on her outside. Whether or not you like that red and cyan on that 030, it certainly catches your attention. There's another car just like that in the first C main, driven by Cox's teammate Jennifer Duke. Thing 1 and Thing 2, those cars have been referred to as by many people. It's a hornet's nest. Back in the middle of the field, Ali Riggs and Bakoto Yamada get punted into the wall off of turn number 2 on the very first lap. Heavy damage to the 19 and 22 cars as Riggs and Yamada are done. Brenda Riggs is faring much better as she's got a rocket under her right now. She's challenging Betty Cox for the lead. Aaron Singer, Jason Bates, and Mizushima rounding out the top 5 for the moment. Here is Vitaly Solikov, the team boss over at Roos Autosport, running inside the top 10, but there's contact between Mike Malone and George Bryan. Zeb Spradlin hard into the wall as Vitaly Solikov and Neil Miller also collected. Nick Howard and Isabella Messina get together. Howard and Malone go into the wall. Here comes Scott Morales slamming into the 56 car. Big hit for Nick Howard. That really did not need to happen. Morales had plenty of time to take evasive action. Fortunately, everybody involved was okay. Betty Cox and Brenda Riggs resumed their battle for the lead. Cox leading at the moment. Aaron Singer challenging Mizushima for third. Contact between Archer Harris and Seiji Daiho sees Daiho and Chris Washer going off the track on the backstretch. They're struggling to get their cars pointed in the right direction. They would lose several spots. Roy Cook and Chris Washer a little bit later getting together. And they take George Bryan, and I think that is Allison Miller into the wall as well. And here come a few more cars. Neil Miller, the 90S, right into the side of the 906 of Chris Washer. Under this caution, Isabella Messina blows up. She is done for the day. Brenda Riggs and Betty Cox continue to fight for the lead. Joel Lennox, car 28, lurking back in third place, now going for second. 1 lap to go now. Betty Cox not giving up in her FARC Elite Series powered by Smash Beer debut as she challenges Brenda Riggs on the inside for the race lead. They both have support from Joel Lennox and Aoi Mizushima, but it would be Betty Cox edging Riggs at the line. A very impressive showing from Betty Cox as in her debut, she is now 1 step closer to making the Smash Beer 500, as well as 15 other cars. Dexter Day for the Lloyd Brotherhood team, the last car to transfer into the C mains. Moving on to C main number 1. Still 30 laps, but this time we have 36 cars starting these races. Vincenzo Focusato leads to the green flag, but creeping into the early lead is Jennifer Duke in Thing 2, the number 031 on the outside. Great start from Duke as Focusato slides into second. And once again, it's a hornet's nest, 3 and 4 wide behind the leaders. Kurt Pliskin not making any friends as he gets into the side of Ben Atkins and AJ Young off of turn number 4. AJ Young surprisingly hasn't crashed yet, despite being in the middle of that huge pack. Good job by him to hang on to it, as Frank Azure started in 21st after winning the first D main, and already at the end of lap 2, he's up to third. Azure is another one of those guys with a rocket ship that I think is easily going to make the 500, as Ryan Matthews blows up. His bid to make the 500 is done. Kiki Hitsuna was fast in her D main, but now she and Angelina Hawk are going backwards. Frank Azure has a problem with that 87 car. I spoke too soon. That rocket ship has sputtered out as Mo Lester, card 619. Now with the problem with just 5 laps to go, the race is going to end under caution. Jennifer Duke makes it 2 wins in a row today for Cox and Dukes Racing. Thing 1 and Thing 2, they are fast, this is true. That was really bad, and I apologize. You have Jenny Kuznetsov, the popular Russian driver, coming home third. Laura Cyrus and Tanner Clayson continue to rise through the alphabet soup after starting in the E-mains. Moving on to C-main number 2, Chris Johans, starting on the pole in the number 09 for LA Supersports. His teammate Stacy St. Martin starting in 9th place. Johans, the TM Master Cup Series driver, off to a good start. Cameron Sweetwater and Jeff Whitney fighting for 2nd place. Heading into turn 1, Johans pulls down as if to block Sweetwater. Johans would get swallowed up by the pack. Chris Winter moving into the lead. Betty Cox roughing him up a bit as there's a crash in the back. One car in the wall. Here on lap number 2, Luke Pellerin in the 888 gets hooked as Kelly Splicen and Bigsby Foot get together. I'm surprised that wasn't a much bigger wreck, but Luke Pellerin is done after backing that 888 car into the wall. Betty Cox leads on the restart. Chris Winter and Alex Witt right behind her. Bobby Stewart had a problem and had to come into the pits. He ended up a lap down and well out of contention to transfer. Harmony Pettinger in car 66 going for the lead, but Jason Bates gets hooked by Chris Winter. After contact between Winter and Brenda Riggs, Bates slides down the track. He gets hammered by Lev Azarov, and here come several other cars piling in. Jeff Whitney, Dexter Day, Archer Harris, and Bigsby Foot all collected. Jason Bates took several huge hits as that 2 car becomes a projectile flying through the air after being hit by Lev Azarov and Dexter Day. It's very fortunate that Bates did not go over the wall, as there is no catch fence up there. Fortunately, the fans all around the track are kept a fair distance back. Bates took quite a while to get out of that 2 car, and he was transferred to a local hospital for overnight observation. After the Roush Airlines flying restarts, Seiji Daiho making a bid for the lead, but he gets roughed up a bit by Brenda Riggs. Contact between Earl McDermott and I believe that's Frank Azzaretto. McDermott, Azzaretto, and Focusato go into the wall. A few other cars piling in. John Hawks, the 114, Timmy Welsh, the 1Q, and Kelly Splicen, the 96. Kenny Brillin, that yellow 20 car. Heavy damage as well. Alex Witt leading on the restart. 9 laps to go at this point. Alex Witt, known as the Mayor at his home track, Columbia Motor Speedway in South Carolina, making his first start for the Bobby Courteau team. But Betty Cox would soon reassume control of the race. Isaac Leitner, car 94, for Gravity Racing right behind her. And there's a bit of contact between Mauro Adachi and Jeremy Baker. Ashley Tucker getting hooked, and up into the wall she goes. Ashley Tucker, Bjorn Green's last hope to make this race after Barton Sandy fell out of the E-mains, now done for the day, and Bjorn Green Racing will go home. Betty Cox leads under caution, but she blows up. Your race leader and one of the rocket ships of the day up in smoke after certain victory. That's got to be gut-wrenching for Betty Cox, and her teammate Jennifer Duke has got to be nervous about her own engine at this point, but this is going to hand the lead and the win over to Alex Witt. The Mayor did not fare very well in the rookie shootout, but Bo Pomoto has stepped up their game for the 500. Brenda Riggs makes it through again after starting in the E-mains, as well as Kyle Gaffigan in the Stallman Racing car, who has not shown any speed until now. B-main number 1 now underway. The top 19 cars will transfer into the 500. 40 laps this time around. That's just long enough so that these cars will have to pit once in this race. Kelly Posadas starting on the outside of Leslie Riggs as Posadas rockets into the lead. Billy Gatton started 4th, but he has a terrible start and he's holding up several cars on his way to the back. He had quite a bit of speed in pole qualifying, but where did it all go? Gatton is going to find himself in the back of the field at the end of this first lap, as well as Bob Steffens, Robert Nelson, and Tanner Clayson, who were being held up by him. Nick Van Gilder making it 3 wide with Monroe and Posadas for the lead. The late model driver. Very impressive so far in his first FARC weekend. His time was good enough to get into the B-main, and now he leads here on lap number 3, holding off the 2 M&J drivers. Kurt Walker gets hit from behind by Focusato, back up and head on into the wall at about 180 miles an hour. Tanner Clayson, car 79, collected as well. Focusato and Walker are out. Clayson continues on. J.W. Lester in the 5-0 car under this Vickers collision and glass caution has a problem, comes into the pits, but overshoots his stall. The car dies on him, and he would spend several laps trying to get it refired as Nick Van Gilder continues to lead after the Roush Airlines flying restart. Miranda Lecklighter, however, would blow up on lap 16 and bring out another Vickers collision and glass caution. Nick Van Gilder leads everybody down into the pit lane, and he continues to lead on the restart, but Kelly Posadas would get a big run on the 60 car and take the lead of the race back. Kevin Monroe has a problem and lost a couple of laps in the pit lane. He would get that car back out there, though. And here's Packer Carroll being held up by the lapped car of Tanner Clayson. Contact with the 147 of Wyatt Lloyd. And both of them into the wall in turn 3 and out of the race. Packer Carroll intending to run a few FARC races as his Master Cup schedule allows. Not off to a good start this season. Ralph West in the third Pearson Sweeney car, taking over the lead from Kelly Posadas after the Roush Airlines flying restart. The FARC modified driver and the son of James West making his debut in the Elite Series. And Jeff Wilkins would soon challenge the 33 car. Wilkins taking over the lead now. Richard Scott looking to challenge for second. Coming to 7 laps to go. The field starting to bunch up. Contact. Kurt Pliskin and Leslie Riggs. Ralph West hard into the wall. And Lucas Sweeney upside down and tumbling down the front stretch. Sweeney flipping many times. Several other cars involved. Here comes the pack. More cars piling in and another one up and over. I think that's Ben Atkins tumbling in the grass as Lucas Sweeney finally comes to a rest. Atkins slams into Harry Asinola, the 55, and that was Dylan Andrew, the 30, that sent him up and over. Nick Van Gilder, Yevgeny Kuznetsov also involved. Here's another look at it. Kurt Pliskin gets into the back of Leslie Riggs. West hooked into the wall very hard. Caught completely by surprise, and of course you saw Lucas Sweeney also going head-on into the wall. There was quite a bit of concern for Sweeney, West, and Atkins. They were transported to a local hospital for observation. As you see Kelly Posadas coming into the pits. I believe she wanted to check her tires after running over all of that debris on the front stretch. Kurt Pliskin finds himself leading the race after wiping out a good portion of the leaders. Robert Nelson, AJ Young, and Bob Steffens have emerged as contenders for the win here, but Kurt Pliskin would be able to hold off everybody else, presumably out of fear, and takes the win in B main number 1. Pretty sure that's not going to be a very popular victory with the fans or the officials. We'll have to see what becomes of that as the top 19 transfer into the 500. Jeff Wilkins and Dylan Andrew actually fell out of the race, but they are in as we now move on to B main number 2. Lucy Barnton and Megan Driver leading on the Roush Airlines flying start. Megan Driver, car 40, creeping ahead of the 200, heading into turn number 1. Anthony Griffith making it 3 wide for about 3rd place. As Lucy Barnton and Megan Driver, neither of them have a clear advantage through 1 and 2, and now Barnton creeping ahead. Griffith gets by them with a 3 wide pass though, and now he tries to hold off Chuck Johnson in the 18J at the end of the first lap. Griffith and Johnson side by side to the line. Joseph Howard moving up into 3rd, and Griffith leads at the line. A lot of 3, 4, and 5 wide down the middle of the field, and Stacy St. Martin's feeling the consequences of that, getting shoved out into the grass, back onto the track. Contact with Chavez, car 35. St. Martin with a big hit with that wall, heavy damage to the 5 car, and Stacy St. Martin will drop out of this race. Further up the track, coming back to the caution, Joseph Howard caught in the middle of 5 wide, into the wall, up and onto his side. Big crash on the backstretch here on lap number 2, and your defending series champion gets the worst of it, tumbling a couple of times, and now coming to a rest on his wheels. Joseph Howard, again, the defending FARC Elite Series champion, out of the race on lap number 2. Henry Santos leads on the Roush Airlines flying restart. Seiji Daiho, car number 91, blows up. That's a Kurt Walker car, so I'm not terribly surprised. Neither of his teammates, Walker nor Miura, made it, as Libby Bell, hooked by the 136 of Michael Calhoun, You got a crash here on the front stretch. Mauro Adachi and Kathy Parker. Also involved, Gio Arias piling in now. Not much use of the brakes or spatial awareness by Gio Arias. Several cars out of the race, including Mauro Adachi in the Troll and Lowly 96, who had worked his way up from the D-mains, as Jeremy Baker and Lucy Barnton very, very lucky not to hit the end of the pit wall. They're going to continue on down the pit lane and rejoin the track. Very fortunate that that wasn't much worse. Henry Santos continuing to lead this race. Julia Ashcroft hooked by Dan Edwards in the 76 car. Cameron Sweetwater, the 901, also involved. Aaron Singer in the 1 also gets a small chunk of that. Another Vicker collision and glass caution with 14 laps to go. Henry Santos still leading with 5 to go. Santos qualified for the endurance race at Dwyer in 2010, hasn't made a FARC race since, and now he's got a pit. Coming to the white flag for fuel, he had not made a pit stop this whole race. This hands the lead over to Brenda Riggs, who takes the win, holding off Chuck Johnson in the 18J. Brenda Riggs working all the way up from the E-mains to make the Smash Beer 500. Taylor Matthews and Chris Johans, the only drivers on their team to make the 500, as well as Megan Driver. But perhaps the biggest surprise of these guys is Kyle Gaffigan in the number 80 Stallman Racing entry. Not that much funding and not that much pace out of that team, but Gaffigan persevered, and the Stallman Racing crew celebrated as if they had won. The provisional field of 41 is now set for the Smash Beer 500, the season opener for the FARC Elite Series presented by Smash Beer. I'll see you next time.